Hello everybody, this is Emma Morton here from the National Literacy Trust, and the last of our Doorstep to Digital sessions. And I'm really happy to say we've got Leah Dungay here from the National Video Game Musuem in Sheffield. So she's going to really lead us today and show us lots of different things. We're going to talk about the National Video Gaming Museum, and we're going to talk about the Games Careers Week, and we're going to do a zine story activity with Leah. So, I mean, there's a few things I'd like to talk about before we get going, but welcome, Leah. Thank you so very much. Talking about sort of video games, I mean, the National Literacy Trust have done quite a lot of research into gaming, and particularly over COVID, which, you know, is really, I think it's been a massive outlet for so many different people. And just a few things really, you know, just to sort of reiterate to you watching, you know, the latest independent research found that video games can give young people a route into reading and writing. And definitely, I know Leah's going to talk about careers that you can get, you know, in the gaming industry. Improve confidence in young people's reading skills, which again is really important for not just enjoyment, but obviously for all your schoolwork and everything else. Immerse young people in stories, which again, some of the graphics and some of the beautiful, lovely games that you can play and be part of and interact with others, amazing. And it supports positive communication with family and friends. And I think now, you know, it's quite interesting, some of the adverts on telly where people are getting their families on board playing Mario Kart, or, you know, oh, we haven't played this for ages, and friends are coming together. And that's quite, you know, all the old retro games are sort of coming out of the woodwork really, because people are bored, it's been a year and we need something, you know, to revisit. And yeah, so increase empathy and support well-being. I mean, there's so many games for any age group, and you know, I know my daughter used to have a pet one that she used to look after, this little pet, and, you know, different things. And again, sort of engaging boys who are reluctant readers with literacy, but not just boys. Many people don't particularly want to read or write, but they would much prefer to play a game. But then there's so many other different ways that, you know, we can engage, you know, and it is a platform. And if that's your way to go and you prefer to read or write using a computer, you know, then it doesn't matter what medium you use, as long as you're reading and writing and helping yourself develop, isn't it? So yeah, so they're my few little nuggets really from sort of the National Literacy Trust. The other things that they've done as well is put together with Penguin Random House quite a few books that are sort of connected to gaming as well. So again, have a look on the National Literacy Trust website and on zoning, and just sort of get a bit of a flavour. And there's absolutely loads of lovely activities and a whole host of stuff that I think you will sort of enjoy. So yeah, so that's my little bit for the NLT. But just want to say thank you to Leah, and she's going to tell us a little bit more about the National Gaming Museum in Sheffield. So over to you, Leah. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. So let me just see if I can share my screen, hoping this is going to work. Okay, now, can you see my screen here?
Yeah.
Excellent, okay, good start. Okay, yeah, so I am Leah. I'm the Learning Officer for the National Video Game Museum. And I sort of run all the workshops and the learning programs and activities and things that we do as part of our outreach and educational work at the museum. So you should be able to see some lovely pictures of the museum, as it usually is once we can reopen, full of people with all the lights and games switched on. So we have over 100 different playable games in the museum, as well as things that you can use to make your own games. You can see games that are in development and some of the history of games as well. So we've got lots of different types of games, so games that you can play with friends and family, but also solo things, games that are made in Sheffield as well. If you're from Sheffield, you can see games that have been made in our city. And you can see in this image here, this is Platform 14. So this is an exhibition about different types of Donkey Kong games. So you might have heard of Donkey Kong. There's lots of different Donkey Kong games in that series. But what you might not know is sometimes the same game gets ported onto lots of different platforms. So there's lots of different versions of the same game, especially in the earlier days when lots of different consoles were very different, built very differently. So games had to be made to fit. Whereas now you might not see so much of a difference between an Xbox and a PlayStation game in terms of graphics, but a few decades ago you definitely could. So that explores that. And yeah, that's kind of our museum. We do lots of different types of workshops. We do things about making your own games, and we do things on computing as well for coding, to get you sort of started making your own games coding based. But we also do things that are analog, so drawing and writing as well, just because video games are sort of massive collaboration. You need lots of different types of skills to be able to make a game. So you need art and design skills, you need music skills as well. Music is very important in games. You even need performance. You might have people sort of doing the voice acting in lots of your favorite games. That's part of performance, as well as writing. Literacy and writing are very, very important for game makers and game players as well. You might know if you've been playing lots of games recently how much reading that can be involved in some games. It's a great way to get into reading and just practice reading as well. So we're going to kind of make our own game as well a little bit later on. So you will need a piece of paper and a pencil for that. But I'm getting ahead of myself, so I'll talk quickly. I'll talk quickly about Games Careers Week.
Yeah, can I just ask briefly before you do? Obviously, the museum. Is it situated in the centre of Sheffield? Is it? Yeah.
Yes, it's in the city centre. It's in Castlegate, if you're familiar with Sheffield, which is kind of sort of down the bottom of Sheffield city centre. So we're easily accessible as soon as you get into town. Yeah, it's great. There's lots of places.
Yeah, and obviously people pay to come in to the museum. Yeah, okay. There's a fee. Yeah, there
is a fee. So it's slightly different now. When we were open before we closed, you could come in sort of all day and come as you go as you please, but with the restrictions and stuff, that might be different for the next couple of months.
You might get a slot or something to come in and have a look. Okay.
Just so we can minimise the amount of people in the space and get more people in the day as well as keeping it safe. But we give you plenty of time to sort of go through. All the games are obviously on free to play, so once you come in, everything is free to play. You can play on anything.
Isn't it?
Yeah, so lots of different things you can do.
Yeah, and obviously your programme, I know obviously like we said it's slightly different now with COVID because you know you have got so many different things going on and what have you, but do you normally, obviously you're promoting things, so if any young people wanted to come onto your website they could see the programme of all the different activities you've got going on. Lovely. Do check out the website. We've got lots of like blog posts as well. So if you're interested in reading about the history of like games in our collection, you can do that. There's also resources to help you start making your own games as well as some video tutorials. So yeah, if you want to check that out, please do. We've also got the Games Careers Week website. That leads me very nicely into the next slide, which is just Games Careers Week. So this is happening very, very shortly, next week. And it's the sort of the first year that we're running it. And it is a whole week dedicated to learning about and sort of getting into a career in video games. It's something we know a lot of young people especially, are very interested in doing, but they might not know where to start, just because it can seem very complicated. There are lots of different types of gaming jobs. It's not just one type of game maker job. There's, narrative designers and programmers. There's lots of different ways in. So even if you don't think that, maybe I'm not so sure about a career in games because I'm not very good at computing, actually there are lots of other routes in. Maybe you really like writing and maybe you could write the games, or maybe you're great at
you know, drawing and want to design the artwork for games, that's another way in there. So lots of different career options. And it's an industry that's kind of grown in the last year, whereas lots of industries might have been struggling, games have kind of shot up. So if you want maybe a great career, video games is a sort of great way to start looking. So that's happening next week. We've got lots of different events happening from games companies in the UK and further afield as well as ourselves. We're running some panels, so check that out, and yeah, sort of get involved and see if it interests you, because I'm hoping it will. So yeah, I will sort of stop talking about the museum, the Games Careers Week now. You can go and explore that and have a look for yourself. And then I'm going to talk about text adventure games. We're going to be making our own kind of text adventure games. You don't need any computing skills or coding skills. We're going to be using a pencil and a piece of A4 paper. You can use other sizes as well, so if you don't have one exactly this size and shape, that's fine, but we're going to be folding it in a very particular way to make a little book, and we can make our own kind of text adventure. So you might be familiar with text adventure games if you play lots of games yourself. They're basically kind of games where there might be a lot of reading or a lot of story, and usually the player is given choices so that you can kind of decide where the story might go. So there are also lots of books like this. Choose your own adventure books also exist and are very, very popular. I do have one that you might have seen. This is one's called City of Thieves, and it's a fighting fantasy book. So this is kind of a classic example of a choose your own adventure book, where essentially what you do is you might get a scenario and you might get a choice. So you might say, oh, you see two doors in front of you, and which one do you want to go through? Do you want to go through the door on your left or the door on your right? And it will give you a different page number depending on which choice you make, and you go to that page and you carry on that story in that kind of way. So every time you read it, if you make different choices, the game or the book will also be different, so you'll get a different kind of story each time. So there's a big history of text adventure type games. One of the first games that was kind of made or released was one called Colossal Cave Adventure. You can kind of see that one. Well, it's on my left, it could be on your right, but it's that black screen with that yellow text. So it looked a bit like that. You get just written words on the screen, and you'd have to type what you wanted to do next. So put in your own choice, and it'd say, oh no, you can't go that way, or no, try again. And you were exploring a cave and trying to get out of that cave and survive, essentially, and get as many points as you could. But that one came out in 1976, so it's a really, really early video game, and a very popular one, I believe, too. But more recently, you might have seen the Telltale games. So these are kind of not text adventure, but you can see from these images over here, there's lots of different types, but you do play through them. You get like that kind of imagery as well. So it's like playing through a visual book, but you get lots of choices, very importantly. So they've got Batman games, they've got Minecraft story mode, they've got one about fairy tales as well, and Borderlands, if you've ever played Borderlands as well. And these are a great example of sort of giving your player choice and playing through the story and having your choices affect the story too. So that's what we're going to be looking at. And we call them kind of branching narratives. So narratives that kind of branch off. If you think about a tree with all the different branches, and all of those different branches are choices. So you can kind of follow a branch all the way to the top, or you could go somewhere else. And like I was saying, it gives your player or your reader lots of choices. So it can be really exciting, but you can also keep replaying it too. So you can play it again, you can pick different options, you can play it through with a friend or a family member. So it's a really kind of exciting thing to do. So we're going to try and make our own, but with a zine. So you might have heard of zines before. They're sort of shortened from a magazine, but they're essentially a little book that are kind of handmade. And we're just going to be making a little book out of, like I said, an A4 piece of paper and a pencil or anything you have to draw with. Scissors as well are helpful, but you don't need them. I'll show you how to do it without using scissors and just sort of ripping the paper very carefully. So if I stop sharing my screen, let me see if I can figure that out. Hey, okay, we're back. So I might need to just move my camera this might be the bit that you need to cut out later on. So I'm going to try and do that. And you can see my desk, I'm hoping.
Perfect. Yes.
Right, okay. You might see my cat wandering around. I think she's already been in and out, having a look, but she should be all right. So here are some books that I've kind of made before. So they're just little books like this, and they've got 8 pages, and you can fill them with whatever you like. So I'm going to show you how to fold one of these little books out of just a page of A4 paper. So now it should be simple. You might need to kind of re-watch the video a little bit, but there's also lots of information online telling you how to fold these signs properly. So first of all, we're going to lay our piece of paper flat like this, and we're going to take the edges lengthways like this, and we're going to fold it down like that. And you want to fold along this edge. And if you've got anything to kind of help you fold that edge, make it really folded, you can use your pencil or your nails as well, are really handy. Just make sure that edge is really flat. The kind of more precise that you make this, the easier it will be to fold it. So I'm going to do that. And you can fold it back out again, and you can see, well, you should be able to see, I think my camera is doing some funny focusing.
No, it's fine, we can see it. It's coming in and out, but we can still see it.
Okay, that's good. Let's see. Yeah, so you can see there's a line down the middle like that. Okay, so that's great. And then what we're going to do is we're going to fold down the other direction. So you'll end up with like a cross shape in the middle of your piece of paper. So you can fold that like that. There we go. And then make sure that edge is really flat. I use my nails to do that. That's where long nails comes in handy. So then I'll fold it out, and you can see that you've got kind of cross shape like that. Okay, so now we want to fold it so we've got a couple more pages, because at the moment we've only got 4 pages. So what we want to do next is we're going to fold these 2 corners into the middle like this. You can do this one at a time. So you can see that you've got the line down the middle here. I'm going to fold this side to meet the middle like that. And I'm going to fold that bit down there like that. I'm going to make that line, that fold very, very precise. And then if you fold it out, you'll see that you've kind of got like a cross shape on one of the sides. So now you've got 4 pages on that side, and we're just going to do the same on the other side as well. So I'm going to take that side over, fold it to the middle of your piece of paper, and then I'm going to fold that down like that. So when you unfold it, you should have something that looks a bit like that, and you'll have 8 different pages. Okay, so now you need your scissors, or if you prefer, you can just rip it as well. So what you're going to do, this is where the really important bit is, because we need to put the sort of cut in the right place so that it will fold in a very special way. So I am going to fold this in half again, like that. So let me see if it will focus. No, there you go. So you can see the cross on one side. I've just folded it in half like that. Now on the edge that you folded, we're going to rip from this side, not this side here. Okay, does that make sense? So we want to rip it down this line to the middle of the cross, but no further. So if I fold it out, you'll be making essentially a little hole just down this middle bit. So just from this side to that side. Ooh, it's not focusing very well, but I'm hoping you can see that. So we just want to cross from that middle. So I'm going to fold it in like this, and then I am going to rip, but you can cut as well, just down to that middle line. So let's do that. Ooh, if I can do it. I fold, rip it very carefully down that line, and I'm going to hope. Yeah, there we go. So I have, if I fold it out, you can see that I've kind of got like a little mouth in the middle, essentially, that little hole, but it doesn't go all the way to the edges like that. So that's why it's important to get that rip in the right place. So you fold it in half, and then you'll get a rip like this. Okay. So hopefully you will have something that looks like this. Ooh, you're not throwing it about. But now we need to do the kind of magic fold. So there's a kind of particular way that you want to fold this. If you've ever done any kind of like origami or anything like that, you know that there's lots of special folds that make papers do weird things. So we're going to fold this kind of in half. So the hole is at the top, just like this. And then you're going to take these edges and you want to push them to the middle. So you get that hole to kind of push together. So it meets in the middle and you get this kind of star shape like that. So you want to, just like that, push that together. Then you want to take the pages of your book and fold them down the middle so that you have, if you push this sort of in like that, if you're using thinner card, this is much easier. I've got kind of a thick paper, but if you fold that together, then suddenly you have a little book like this with some pages in the middle. So if you take this and kind of unfold it, you can see that it's just the one piece of paper, and then if you fold it together like that, you'll get this little book with some pages, just like that. So hopefully you will have all gotten a tiny book. So once you have this, we can start kind of writing our story. So first thing you want to do is grab your sort of pen or pencil and label the pages. Because we want to give our players some choice, we want to make sure they end up in the right place. So I'm just going to take my pencil and I'm going to write a number in the bottom corner. And I'm going to use the front and the back pages because I'm just going to include them in the story. Because we don't have many pages in the middle, we can start the story off on the front page if you want. You can make a front page if you'd like to do that, design a little book. That is entirely up to you. I'm going to include it. So I'm just going to put a 1 like that in the bottom, and we're just going to keep going until we have 8 pages. You should have like that, 6, 7, and then the back page is page number 8. So you can see they've got little, well, I'm hoping you can see, but they've got little numbers on them. So now is where you can kind of get creative and you can decide where you want your story to sort of end up. So you can pick a location, you can pick a place that maybe you want your reader to start from, or you could pick something based on a game as well. Maybe it's something Minecraft based and you could start in a forest, or maybe you're a plumber like Mario. It's up to you. So what I've done, I've made some before, like this is one where I use those door examples, and I just said, you're in a dark room and you see 2 doors, which one do you choose? And I've got one that says door 1 and one that says door 2. And then underneath I have a little instruction for the reader, and this one says go to page 2 and go to page 3. So if my reader said, well, I'm going to choose door 1, so that means I need to go to page 2. So then it says a juicy peach, that looks good. Do you want to take a bite or no thanks? And there's got another choice here, and it'll take them through the story like that. So it's totally up to you. And you can add images as well. You can draw stuff, or you can just keep it to writing. So if you just want to write your story and have people read it, that's fine. But you could also add images as well, which is really cool. So I've added some pictures in here, and I've got a cat there as well. So that kind of takes your reader through. And it's up to you where you go. So if you wanted to start your story on page 1 and have one of the choices take them to page 6, you could do that too. It's completely up to you. And another fun thing you can do is add a choice about unfolding the book, because if you unfold the book, you might realize that you've got a whole other blank page on the back. So you could put something in here. I've seen someone create like a map on here. So they had a choice about, well, find a map. Do you want to open the map? And they open the map by opening the book, and they've drawn a map on the inside. So there's lots of fun ways that you could give yourself even more pages with this. So we could start in a forest. So we could just say start. We're going to keep it really simple. In a forest. And you could draw some trees. You could draw the locations so that people knew where they are. I'm just going to draw some trees like that. And maybe you've got 2 signs. I'm going to add some signs here. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing, but I'll show you in a minute. And one goes left and one goes right. And I'm going to pop page 3 and page 4, like that. So I've got, really simply, I've got some forests. They kind of look like trees, I think, and I've got 2 signs, so one that goes left and one that goes right. So say you wanted to go whatever direction that was. I'm not sure because I'm holding it backwards, but yeah, that takes you to page 4. So I can then open page 4, and I've got a blank page, so we can decide where they're going to go next. So let's say maybe they see a pond in the background, like that, and maybe there's a duck on the pond or something like that. And then maybe you could give them a choice that isn't like connected to directions, but maybe something they might do. So maybe you could say, well, I want to walk around the pond, or maybe you want to jump in and swim through the pond. You could do that instead. So I'm going to say walk around, and we're going to say page, page 5, and I'm going to say, let's pop that in, jump in, page, which page haven't we used yet? Page 2, so I'm going to take them backwards a bit. So I've got walk around, page 5, and I've got jump in, page 2. So actually I'm going to make them go backwards if they decide to jump in, and maybe they jump in and it makes a big splash, like that. This is a really simple way of doing things, but so it's up to you what you wanted to take, or what direction you wanted to take your story. There's lots of different ways you could do it. So I've got one that's kind of just random, and you maybe you take a bite of the peach, and actually the peach is poisoned, so it's not very good for you. So you can either maybe take a bite and risk it, or you could watch a bug eat that peach and get a bit sick, like that kind of thing. And you can see if you can find the culprit. I've also got another one that I did that was about having snacks. All of mine are food themed. I think that says something about me. But it's about different types of food, and all of the different types of food give you a special power up. So they give you special powers, or they make your hair turn green, that kind of thing. But it takes you all the way through to the back where the story ends and gets sucked into a biscuit tin. So these are really good ways if you want to start thinking about making your own kind of text adventure, but you're kind of looking at blank pages and you see too many options. If you want to keep something really, really simple, you could use a little book like that to kind of narrow down your options. But it's not too small of a thing, so you can really let your reader kind of explore this tiny story and also grow it. If you wanted to, you could make another book, make another one in the series, make a book 2. Or you could start using something like an online platform for making text adventure games, like something like Twine, which is free to use. Anyone can put their story into it as well and release it as a game. So if that's something that interested you, then you could do that too. So I think that's kind of all.
That's wonderful. Gosh, do you know what? I remember a substitute teacher years and years ago bringing one of those lovely books in, and I think actually, you know, the imagination and where it takes you, and you are, you know, you can make that yourself in such a simple but such a clever way. It's just it's wonderful, isn't it? I really like that. Yeah, I'd forgotten about those books, I must admit. You know, and I think actually, if young people that are listening, you know, want to sort of have a look at those books, and can you just show the title again, Leah, of that book that you?
Which one?
The one that
these ones.
Sorry, yeah.
Yes.
City of Thieves.
City of Thieves.
Yeah. So again, it might give them some other ideas to, you know, but again, the world's your oyster. You can put anything in it. You can be anything. You can move it anywhere. And like you say, you can then do the next second book and build a whole, yes, J.K. Rowling selection.
Yes, and there's lots of different ways you can do things. So if you prefer drawing, you don't necessarily have to have any text. You could do it all through pictures and maybe add some numbers in there for the book, for the different pages, or you can just do it totally with text as well. So you just want to do writing, you don't want to do any drawing, that's totally fine.
Yeah,
really
and
cool.
it's so nice that you've got the medium of twine to do it as well if you want to submit anything as well. Obviously, with that, do you obviously put your ideas in, and can you save them and then?
Yes.
Yeah, that
Yes.
idea, okay, because that's something again I've not heard of. A lot of people probably have, but again, it would be a really nice way of putting your ideas and having it. You know, if you want to, take it further, you never know. You might be the next massive game maker. I mean, it's a multi-million-pound business, isn't it? So, like you say, you can have a magnitude of different skills, but even if you just do one part of it, it could just lead on to something else, couldn't it? So that's amazing. Yeah, well, that's really good. Well, thank you so much, and I hope everyone's enjoyed it. And again, it's just a different way of embedding our lovely literacy in gaming, and hopefully it will get lots of imagination going, and people have enjoyed it, and hopefully they'll come and see you at the National Video Gaming Museum in Sheffield in the future, and all the lovely activities you'll have on. And I know you'll do loads through the holidays and different things, so if people look out for that, that would be great. And if you do look on our National Literacy Trust website, Words for Life and Zoning, there's lots and lots of links and ideas and sort of further things that you can explore on that as well. So, but thank you so very much for your time, and I look forward to working with you again, or coming to the museum. That would be amazing. So thank you. Okay,
No
take
problem.
care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.